I'd learned to tune out Marcus's voice years ago. It was a survival skill, really, like learning to sleep through a neighbor's barking dog. Tonight, at his ridiculously expensive wedding reception, I was getting plenty of practice. "Sarah's great with kids, terrible with numbers," he announced to a cluster of his Goldman Sachs colleagues near the bar. His voice carried across the ballroom with that particular confidence that comes from 3 whiskeys and a captive audience. "Always been the creative type, you know. Can't balance a checkbook to save her life." I sipped my champagne and adjusted the strap of my bridesmaid dress, the unflattering coral one his fiancée Emma had chosen specifically because it washed me out. Small victories for her, I supposed. Marcus had always been the golden child. Wharton MBA at 26, vice president by 29. Now, at 33, he was marrying Emma Whitmore, whose father sat on half the boards in Manhattan. The wedding alone cost more than most people's houses, $1.4 million, according to Emma's not-so-quiet complaints about keeping it intimate. I was 31, living in a modest Brooklyn apartment, working as a freelance graphic designer. At least, that's what the family believed. That's what I let them believe. "Remember when she tried to start that little Etsy shop?" my mother was saying to Emma's mother near the head table. "Lost money on shipping for months before Marcus had to explain basic business to her. Bless her heart, but she's just not wired for finance." Emma's mother made a sympathetic noise. "Well, not everyone can be a Marcus. The thing about being underestimated your entire life is that you learn to move quietly." While Marcus was busy building his career at Goldman, networking loudly and visibly, I was doing something else entirely. 10 years ago, after finishing my design degree, I started investing, small amounts at first. $1,500 here, $1,000 there. I had a knack for spotting undervalued companies, particularly in tech. Within 3 years, my portfolio had grown to $2 million. By year 5, $15 million. By year 8, $94 million. I kept it quiet. Everything went through a family trust I'd set up under my grandmother's maiden name, Blackwell Capital Management. My family never connected the dots. Why would they? I was creative Sarah, the artsy one. The one who needed Marcus to explain compound interest at Thanksgiving while everyone nodded sympathetically. 6 months ago, Marcus launched his own venture capital firm, Hartley Investment Group. He'd raised $200 million from investors, Emma's father included. It was his pride and joy, his chance to step out of Goldman's shadow and build something himself. What Marcus didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Blackwell Capital owned 81% of Hartley Investment Group's voting shares. I'd invested $162 million through shell companies and trust structures. Marcus thought his funding came from a mix of European investors and American family offices. He had no idea his financially illiterate little sister controlled his entire company. "Sarah." Emma's tight smile cut through my thoughts. She gestured toward the head table. "We need you for photos with the bridesmaids." I set down my glass and made my way over, passing Marcus, who was holding court with Emma's father and several board members. The key to successful venture capital, Marcus was declaring with the authority of someone 6 months into the industry, is knowing when to trust your instincts over the data. Sometimes you just have to make bold moves. Emma's father nodded approvingly. "That's the Marcus I know, confident, decisive." "Unlike some people," Marcus added with a laugh, glancing at me. "Sarah once asked if stocks and bonds were the same thing. Can you imagine?" The group chuckled politely. I smiled and kept walking. The photographer arranged us on the grand staircase. Emma in the center, her 5 bridesmaids flanking her like pastel-colored sentries. I was shoved to the far end, half hidden behind a marble column. Even in photos, I was an afterthought. "Sarah, smile naturally," the photographer called. "You look like you're at a funeral." More laughter. Later, I slipped away to a quiet corner near the terrace doors. The reception was in full swing, live jazz, marble floors crowded with dancers, champagne flowing like water. Everything Marcus touched turned to gold. Or so the family believed. My phone buzzed. A text from my real business partner, Jennifer Chin, a mergers and acquisitions attorney I'd met 5 years ago. "Jennifer, board meeting moved to Monday 10 a.m. Chairman confirmed attendance. All documentation ready." Me. "Perfect. Thank you." Marcus's bold instincts had lost the firm $47 million in just 3 months. The board, my board, was getting restless. He had no idea every report, every detail, landed on my desk first. Last week, he tried to push through a $30 million investment in a crypto mining scheme run by a dropout with a fake Stanford degree. The board voted it down 6-1. Marcus exploded, railing about old guard thinking. He didn't know I'd cast the deciding vote. There's my little sister. Marcus appeared at my side, unsteady, tie loose, face flushed with whiskey. Why are you hiding? This is a party. Just taking a breather, I said. Beautiful wedding, Marcus. Congratulations. Yeah, Emma really killed it with the planning. He looked out over the crowd, smug. This is just the beginning. Hartley Group's about to make major moves. I'm in talks with 3 pension funds right now, $500 million in new capital by Q2. That's great, I said neutrally. You should let me manage some money for you, he added, swirling his drink. I know you don't have much, but even a few thousand could grow. I could teach you the basics. God knows you need the help. I raised my glass. I appreciate the offer. I'm serious, Sarah. You can't live hand-to-mouth your whole life doing little art projects. It's not too late to learn. Even if finance doesn't come naturally to you. A waiter passed. Marcus grabbed 2 glasses, pressing one into my hand. To family, he said. And to finally understanding how the real world works. I clinked his glass. To understanding. My phone buzzed again. This time, a call. Richard Blackwell, board chairman. The man wasn't related to me, but his surname made for convenient cover. He only called when it mattered. Richard, I answered, slipping onto the terrace. Miss Hartley, his voice was grave. Apologies for interrupting, but we have a situation. Marcus just emailed all investors, announcing the crypto mining deal. He claimed board approval. Transfer scheduled Monday, $30 million. My stomach tightened. He's lying. The board rejected it. Correct. 3 members already called me. This is fraud, Miss Hartley. If that transfer goes through, we're looking at criminal exposure. Through the glass doors, I watched Marcus laugh with Emma's father, oblivious. As majority shareholder, you need to decide, Richard pressed. Do we remove him now, or risk waiting? Schedule an emergency board meeting. Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. I'll attend in person. That will reveal. I'm sure. Notify everyone. And make sure Marcus knows the majority shareholder called it. Let him spend the night wondering who that is. Silence. Then. Understood. I ended the call. Manhattan glittered before me, cold and indifferent. Inside, the band struck up The Way You Look Tonight. Marcus spun Emma beneath his arm, grinning, pointing at me like I was part of his triumph. Then his phone buzzed. He ignored it. Buzzed again. Again. Finally, he pulled it out. His smile died. He froze, reading the message. Emergency board meeting, Sunday, October 15th, 9 a.m. Hartley Investment Group offices. Called by majority shareholder, Blackwell Capital Management. Attendance required. Emma stumbled when he stopped dancing. Concerned, she asked something, but he wasn't listening. He was scanning the room wildly until his eyes found mine. Who the hell is Blackwell Capital? He mouthed. I smiled and lifted my glass. Moments later, he stormed onto the terrace, phone in hand. What the hell is this? Emergency board meeting tomorrow? During my honeymoon? Who the hell do they think they are? He shoved the phone at me. It says they own 81% of voting shares. That's impossible. I know every investor in my firm. Maybe you don't know them as well as you think. This is ridiculous. I'm calling Richard right now. I gently lowered his phone. Marcus, it's your wedding night. Can't it wait until tomorrow? Wait? Sarah, this is my company. Some mystery shareholder can't just call emergency meetings. Emma appeared beside him. Marcus, what's wrong? Everyone's asking. Work stuff. Nothing I can't handle. You're supposed to be on our honeymoon. I know, babe. It's just politics. Some investor trying to block my deal. I'll sort it out. Marcus turned back to me. You don't know anything about this, do you? Blackwell Capital, they're not one of your artsy Brooklyn friends trying to invest. I raised an eyebrow. I barely have enough for rent, remember? How would I know major investors? He exhaled, reassured by his own assumption. Right. Sorry. I'm just stressed. This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, and now I'm stuck with boardroom nonsense. Maybe they have legitimate concerns, I said carefully. About what? So a few investments didn't pan out immediately. That's venture capital. You take risks. You learn. But these old guard types don't get it. You have to trust your instincts. Maybe instincts aren't enough. He laughed, the same patronizing laugh I'd heard all my life. Sarah, no offense, but you don't really understand how high-level finance works. These are complex decisions that require years of experience and sophisticated market knowledge. Of course, I said lightly. What do I know about money? Exactly. He relaxed, convinced once again that I knew my place. Look, I love you, sis, but we live in different worlds. You do your art thing. I do the finance thing. That's just how we're wired. Emma tugged at his arm. Marcus, can we please get back to our wedding? Yeah, you're right. He pocketed his phone and smoothed his jacket. Tomorrow morning, I'll sort this out, remind everyone who the CEO is, and then we'll be on a plane to paradise. Simple. They walked back into the ballroom, Marcus's arm around Emma's waist. Within minutes, he was dancing again, laughing with guests, the picture of confidence. I stayed on the terrace until the reception ended, watching my brother celebrate his perfect life while his perfect company crumbled beneath his feet like sand. Sunday morning arrived cold and grey. I stood outside the Hartley Investment Group offices at 8:45 a.m., wearing a charcoal business suit I'd purchased specifically for this occasion. My leather portfolio contained detailed financial reports, legal documents, and 10 years of investment records. The office building was eerily quiet on a Sunday. Richard met me in the lobby. Miss Hartley. He extended his hand. The other board members are already upstairs. Marcus arrived 10 minutes ago. He's agitated. I imagine he is. We rode the elevator to the 23rd floor in silence. Through the glass walls of the conference room, I could see 6 board members seated around the table, executives from various investment firms, all personally recruited by me through Blackwell Capital. All loyal to the majority shareholder. Not to Marcus. Marcus stood at the head of the table, his back to the door. Even from behind, I could see the tension in his shoulders. He was still in his honeymoon clothes, jeans and a polo shirt, clearly having come straight from his hotel. Richard opened the conference room door. Marcus spun around. Finally. Richard, what the hell is? He stopped mid-sentence when he saw me behind Richard. Sarah? What are you doing here? Miss Hartley is here at my invitation, Richard said calmly. Your invitation? Richard, I appreciate that you're trying to include family, but this is a serious business meeting. Sarah doesn't understand. Please. Everyone sit, Richard interrupted, gesturing to the chairs. I took a seat at the opposite end of the table. The board members watched with careful expressions, already briefed on what was about to unfold. Marcus remained standing. Someone want to tell me what this is about? His voice was sharp. I got your email saying Blackwell Capital owns 81% of my company's voting shares. That's impossible. I personally secured every major investor. I know exactly who has equity in this firm. Do you? I asked quietly. He glared at me. Sarah, I know you're trying to be supportive, but the adults need to talk business right now. Maybe Richard can call you an Uber. Sit down, Marcus, Richard said, his tone brooking no argument. Something in Richard's voice made Marcus pause. He looked around the table at the board members, none of them meeting his eyes. Slowly, he sank into his chair. Richard began, Marcus, what do you know about Blackwell Capital Management? They are a family office or consortium that invested $162 million during our funding round. European-based, I thought. Anonymous investors who wanted passive involvement. Incorrect, Richard said evenly. Blackwell Capital is a private investment firm based in New York. It's been operating for 10 years, managing a portfolio currently valued at approximately $340 million. The principal investor and sole decision-maker is sitting at this table. Marcus's eyes darted around the room. Which one of you? Me, I said. The silence that followed was absolute. Marcus stared at me, then laughed, a short, disbelieving bark. That's not funny, Sarah. It's not a joke. I opened my portfolio and slid a document across the table. This is the corporate structure of Blackwell Capital. That's my signature as founder and principal. These are the incorporation documents from 10 years ago. His hands shook as he flipped through the papers. No. This is some kind of mistake. You don't have this kind of money. You're a freelance designer living in Brooklyn. I'm a private investor who also does freelance design work, I corrected. The design is a hobby. Investing is my career. That's impossible. Where would you get $340 million? I started with $500 10 years ago. Made some good investments in undervalued tech companies. Reinvested the returns. Compound growth over a decade. Richard slid another document across the table. Every transaction, every return, every acquisition, verified by our legal team. Marcus flipped frantically through the records. But you asked me to explain stocks at Thanksgiving. You said you didn't understand compound interest. I lied, I said simply. I've been lying for 10 years. It was easier than dealing with the family's reaction. His face was pale, his voice unsteady. So, you've been secretly rich this entire time? While we thought you were struggling. While you all insisted I was struggling, I corrected. I never said I was. You just assumed. Patricia Chin, one of the board members, cleared her throat. Mr. Hartley, perhaps we should focus on the matter at hand. The cryptocurrency investment. Marcus's face darkened. Don't tell me this is about that. The mining operation is solid, 24% projected returns, run by a man with a Stanford degree. Fake degree, I said, sliding another file forward. Fake name. Fake references. Our legal team confirmed it's a Ponzi scheme. You were about to wire $30 million into fraud. I vetted him. Marcus slammed his hand on the table. I worked at Goldman Sachs. I know how to evaluate investments. You've been CEO for 6 months, Richard said quietly. And in that time, you've lost $47 million on 7 failed deals. The board voted against the crypto project, but you told investors it was approved. That's fraud. The color drained from Marcus's face. I was going to get approval. I just needed to convince you all. You lied to investors, I cut in. You misrepresented a board decision. That's securities fraud. If that transfer had gone through, you'd be facing criminal charges. The boardroom was silent except for Marcus's ragged breathing. You're behind this, he whispered. You've been waiting to sabotage me. No, I said. I invested because I believed in you. But you're destroying the firm with reckless decisions. I'm here to save it. James Whitmore, Emma's father and a board member, spoke up. Marcus, we need to address the immediate issue. Miss Hartley, as majority shareholder, what action do you want to take? Marcus snapped toward him. You knew? You knew she was the majority shareholder. I found out this morning. Along with everyone else. Marcus looked around wildly. This is a coup. You're stealing my company. It's not your company, I said quietly. It's mine. I own 81% of voting shares. You own 12%. The rest belongs to minor investors. I've always had controlling interest. His chest rose and fell rapidly. So what, are you firing me? Taking over as CEO yourself? No, I said. Richard will step in as interim CEO while we search for someone qualified. Marcus stood abruptly, his chair screeching against the floor. No. Absolutely not. This is my firm. I built this. You pitched the idea, I corrected. I funded it. And you've been running it into the ground. Richard stood. Marcus, you have 2 choices, resign gracefully as CEO, maintain your equity, and transition to an advisory role, or be terminated for cause, which would void your equity and expose you to liability. Marcus's phone buzzed. His face went even paler. That's probably Emma, I said softly. Wondering why you're not on a plane to the Maldives. He swallowed hard. How am I supposed to tell her I got fired from my own company, by my little sister? By the majority shareholder, I corrected. Tell her the truth, that you made mistakes, that the board acted to protect the firm, and that you'll figure out your next steps. His voice cracked. She'll never forgive me. Mom and Dad won't either. Probably not, I said, standing. But I didn't do this for their approval. In the elevator, Richard spoke quietly. That was difficult. I'm sorry you had to do that to family. He's still my brother, I said. But the company's survival is more important than his ego. And now? Now I catch a flight to Tokyo. I have a robotics firm to evaluate. Outside, Manhattan was waking up, coffee shops opening, dogs being walked, the city moving on. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. I hate you. I replied, you're angry. I understand. But you'll be okay. Another buzz. Everyone will know you destroyed me. No, I typed back. Everyone will know I saved a company you were driving into the ground. There's a difference. A long pause. Then, Mom and Dad will never forgive you. Probably not, I wrote. But I never needed their forgiveness to begin with. I silenced my phone and stepped into the October morning. The thing about being underestimated is that people never see you coming. And by the time they do, it's already too late.